Have you ever wondered why certain anxieties feel hardwired or why some struggles seem to echo through generations? What if I told you that experiences from before you were even born could be silently shaping your emotional landscape? In this episode of Not So Perfect, we're uncovering the fascinating and at times challenging reality of how a mother's personal trauma can actually be transferred to her child during pregnancy, creating an unseen inheritance. We explore a listener's anonymized story, shed light on the cutting edge science behind this phenomenon, and discuss how these prenatal imprints might manifest as we grow. This is a powerful conversation about the roots of our well being and the deep, intricate ties that bind us. Stay with us. Hey, welcome to Not So Perfect, the podcast that honors the beauty in our flaws and the wisdom in our struggles. I'm your host, Jessica Flower, and each week we delve into the patterns that shape us, awakening the power to live with greater awareness, compassion, and truth. By sharing our lived experiences, increasing our self-awareness, and embracing our humanity, we aim to elevate our collective consciousness and invite healing, growth, and connection. Today, we're exploring a deeply impactful and often overlooked aspect of our human experience: how a mother's personal trauma can profoundly influence her child even before birth. To start off, let me share a small portion of a story that was anonymously provided by one of our listeners. We'll call her Sarah. Sarah was a vibrant, ambitious woman who carried a burden from her past. Years before she became pregnant, she'd been through a terrible car accident. In her account, it was summer, and Sarah was driving cross country with her dog Sam to meet some friends in Colorado for a camping trip. It was a clear, beautiful night, quiet, peaceful. She felt a sense of calm on the road. Instead of stopping to rest, she decided to keep driving. She was trailing behind a semi, using them as a beacon through the night, when out of nowhere it started to swerve. At first, she couldn't react. She was frozen as her car kept moving towards the gigantic, out of control truck. Flashes of her life began scrolling in front of her, but Sam's barking cut through her thoughts and brought her out of it. The adrenaline racing through her body allowed her to maneuver away from the deadly giant and drive full speed off the road into a ditch. Her car was totaled. She lost Sam, and she spent months in the hospital recovering in a full body cast. Sure, she healed physically, but emotionally she was still navigating the aftermath, even years later. Driving became a struggle. She couldn't drive with the radio on because she was afraid to not hear something coming. And even in stationary environments, she would flinch at loud noises, struggled with anxiety, and had a deep-seated fear of anything that felt out of her control. But when Sarah discovered she was pregnant, she was so excited. She followed all the recommended prenatal care, taking vitamins, eating healthy, even doing some meditation. However, throughout her pregnancy, despite her best efforts, that underlying anxiety and those moments of panic were so present, unseen, unspoken, but definitely impacting her. Fast forward a few years, Sarah's son Tommy is a bright, energetic kid. Yet even from a young age, something seemed different. He is sensitive to loud noises, he becomes easily overwhelmed in new situations, and exhibits a level of anxiety that seems disproportionate to his experience. While he's not a carbon copy of his mother, there are these undeniable echoes of her past struggles in his own developing responses. For Sarah, it's perplexing. She loves and nurtures him, yet in her words, He seems to carry an invisible weight on his tiny little shoulders. Now, you might be wondering, how can a mother's past experiences impact her child in such a tangible way? The science behind this is fascinating. When a pregnant mother experiences significant stress or trauma, her body releases a cascade of stress hormones, such as cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones, along with other biological markers, are known to cross the placental barrier and reach the developing fetus. And here's where the concept of epigenetics comes into play. This isn't about changing the genetic code itself, but rather how these genes are expressed. Let's think of your genes as the hardware and epigenetics as the software that instructs that hardware. Maternal stress can actually lead to marks on the fetus's DNA, altering how genes related to stress response and brain development are regulated. For instance, research has indicated that maternal stress can lead to changes in the methylation patterns of genes like NR3C1 and FKBP5, which are critically involved in the body's stress response system. If the expression of these genes is altered, the body's ability to turn off the stress response effectively can be compromised. Science has shown us that stress leads to cortisol production, but these modified gene expressions may make us less sensitive to cortisol, which potentially leads to experiencing a prolonged stress response compared to others. It's as if the fetal system is subtly programmed to anticipate a high stress environment, even before birth. This understanding comes from a growing body of research in developmental psychology and epigenetics. So, how might these pre-programmed stress responses manifest as the baby grows into its teenage and adult years? In childhood, you might observe a child who appears overly sensitive, much like Tommy in our story. They might be prone to anxiety, experience difficulty with emotional regulation, or be more easily startled. They could struggle with sleep or exhibit more intense reactions to minor stressors. It's not simply a moody child. Their developing stress system may be operating in a state of heightened alert, anticipating potential challenges. As they enter their teenage years, this can sometimes lead to an increased susceptibility to conditions like anxiety disorders or depression, and potentially challenges with focus and impulse control. In adulthood, individuals who experience significant stress in utero may have a lower stress threshold, meaning they react more intensely to everyday pressures. They may also face a potential predisposition to chronic anxiety. They could also navigate challenges in relationships, at times feeling a sense of disconnection, or experience difficulty forming secure attachments. It's important to understand that these are not character flaws, but rather potential biological legacies that can influence how an individual experiences and interacts with the world. Sarah's experience was a terrible car accident, but let's also consider the in utero stress that can be unknowingly passed to a baby by a pregnant woman who has experienced other significant forms of stress, lived experiences, or trauma. Things like abuse or neglect, generational trauma, cyberbullying, or even difficulty conceiving. You, listener, may be a mother or a father, or you may be the adult who was the developing baby as your mother dealt with her stress and lived experience. I bring this to your listening ear, not to delve deep into the science or to place blame, but because I find it personally helpful to have a better understanding of our experiences. In this way, we can equip ourselves with self-knowledge that helps us to cope and better navigate life. Some evidence methods to cope with stress and anxiety include mindful breathing. Repeated, deep, diaphragmatic breathing can signal to your nervous system that it's safe to calm down. Another is physical activity. Exercise is a powerful stress reliever, And physical activity releases endorphins, which have feel-good, mood-boosting effects and can help to process excess stress hormones. And we can establish healthy routines. Anxiety thrives on uncertainty. By creating predictable routines, we can provide a sense of control and reduce decision fatigue. Things like a consistent sleep schedule, set meal times, and having a dedicated time to relax all support a more healthy nervous system. It's crucial to know that this is not to say that every pregnant person who experiences stress will have a child with these specific outcomes. The human system is remarkably complex and it's resilient, and many other factors play a vital role, including genetics, postnatal environment, and access to supportive relationships and resources. However, understanding this connection is incredibly valuable. It highlights the profound impact of a mother's well-being on her child, even before birth, and perhaps it can offer a deeper sense of empathy and understanding to those parents and individuals who feel they are navigating challenges that seem to stem from an unseen origin. This conversation reminds us that even our deepest struggles can offer profound wisdom. By understanding the intricate patterns that shape us, we can awaken to greater awareness, cultivate compassion for ourselves and others, and live with more truth. Thank you for joining me on Not So Perfect. Together, we're embracing our humanity and inviting healing, growth, and deeper connection. Until next time, keep exploring your not so perfect journey with an open heart.